What is going on, YouTube? Week 1 is officially in the books. Getting ready for week 2. Got a video coming for you guys. Gotta give you our weekly breakdowns. We're gonna do a recap of this week, things we missed on, things we need to improve on. We'll go through our rankings, talk about some waiver ads, some defenses, some matchups this week. And we'll tie it up. We do some questions, do some Q&As, all that stuff. All right, let's get it.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let me pull up my PowerPoint here. And now we're in the background. There we go. All right, slide 1. So here we are right here. Start sit for the week. And let's go. All right, week 2 recap. So where we were right. So we do a boom and bust.
Nate, you're going to share?
Yeah, hold on, stand by.
All right, now you're looking good.
All right, cool. We're up there. All right, so we got Bijan, Etienne, Madison, Ridley, Jefferson, Ingram. So these are our boom bust from last week. You guys we got right? So these are based on projections. I used Sleeper last time, but I think I'm gonna switch to ESPN because everybody uses ESPN. So just if they went over their projected, boom, hit. They went and they were under, then that counts as a hit too. So bust list, Wilson, Fields, et cetera, all the way down to Higbee, right? So some of the surprising ones that I got some slack for were Fields, DJ Moore, Alexander Madison, and Goddard, right? Surprising to see Justin Fields not do that well this week. And I mean, who would have guessed Dallas Goddard would have got a 0, right? That was pretty surprising.
Yeah, I sure didn't guess that.
Yeah. One of the other big surprises this week was Calvin Ridley. You know, back in July, I actually drafted him in my Scott Fishbowl league just for pure upside. And now, back in August, he was going in like the 4th round. Now he considers maybe even he goes to maybe the 1st round of the drafts now. He might be a league winning wide receiver this year. Something to consider and keep your eye out for. Maybe you could even trade for him if he has a down week later in the year. Some guy I really like this year. I have him on the majority of my leagues. All right, let's keep going here. All right, where we were wrong. So again, boomer bust. We look at dudes that did they hit? Did they not hit? Cousins was a miss. Basically, all the quarterbacks. So if you didn't have any of the top 10 quarterbacks going into the year, you're probably fine. But if you had one of them, you started them, oh man, you probably lost your league. So Burrow messed up. Lamar didn't look good. I mean, Lawrence didn't go give you a nice boom week. Hurts didn't do well. I mean, Mahomes was fine. Herbert looked good. Fields was terrible. Deshaun Watson was pretty solid. Daniel Jones didn't really do much. So some of the other guys, Geno didn't do well. Goff and Pitts didn't reach his projection for me. Juwan Johnson didn't. Dobbins got injured. And Josh Jacobs didn't do that well against Denver. So those are surprising to me. I mean, Dobbins got injured, but I thought Jacobs would have done better. And the quarterbacks, I don't know what happened. Baker Mayfield looked good. Mac Jones looked good. They're both in their new offenses. They look good. Stevenson, he was okay this week, but I mean, I was wrong about him. He did a lot better than I expected. Like 14 points. Khalil Herbert was a letdown, but he still did well. It's like the Roshan Johnson. And then I picked Kelsey and Andrews, but they ended up getting injured and they didn't play that week. So that was also rough. All right. So looking forward on week 2. All right. So we know based on this chart, looking at this chart from our June, this was basically talks about how well each team did and how bad did they beat the team. So Ravens basically destroyed the Texans. Cleveland destroyed the Bengals all the way sitter down. And then it goes to the bottom of like, all right, which defenses looked best and like allowed them to win. So look at Dallas. So they had poor offensive efficiency, but their defense basically carried them. Dallas was so productive defensively that they're one of the best offenses, quotes, in football this week. So looking at this going forward, right, we can start making matchup projections with some of these defenses. We can use what the defenses were last year and take this data sample, even as one, and build on that. Right, we watched these games this week. Everybody saw them this week. So
H, you want to advance the slide?
yeah, quick injury report. Just guys to look out for: Dobbins out, Rodgers, et cetera, et cetera. Guys to monitor. Another one, Gainwell, just is out now with ribs. Just the usual things. We'll talk about them later, but just quick injury report for week 2. Jacoby Myers, somewhere to monitor too with concussions. Dulcich, hammies, probably done for a while. Majority of these guys are hammies. Eagles secondary, I guess they just released their report saying that they're going to be injured. And Anthony Richardson is no longer on injury designation this week. That's pretty much it for this. We'll talk about that here in a bit. All right, waiver wire week 2. So everybody's familiar with the hot name, Puka Nacua. Right. We'll get to Puka here in a little bit, and I'll give you my thoughts on Puka. But here's some waiver wire week 2 guys I wanted and I went to go get. So let's start him off, right? So Tyler Algier, he looked really solid this week, even with Bijan. It's pretty clear now Arthur Smith wants to be an entire running back system and running back by committee for, I don't know, maybe the rest of the year. Rader does not look good at all. Ritter is going to rely on Algier and Bijan. And another one I like is Gus Edwards. I think.
H.
Yeah, what's up?
If the it's still feeding, still loading on the side cam on the TV. So you like Gus Edwards over Justice Hill, huh?
Yeah, I do actually. Well, why do you like Justice Hill? You can go ahead and chat while I do
I like
this.
well, I mean, I like Gus Edwards too as a backup. As a handcuff to Dobbins, he did fairly well last year. But when I saw him run this time after Dobbins went out, it just seemed that Justice Hill was a little bit more explosive. Seems like he had an extra step on Gus Edwards. That makes me think that when push comes to shove, he might get the better performance for the week. I think they'll probably split, unfortunately, and be part of a committee, but I think Justice Hill will probably come out on top. That's my prediction.
So out of those two, you would pick Justice Hill over Gus Edwards, even in a full PPR format?
For the year as the long play.
Wow. So you don't even think the Ravens would even go out and sign somebody?
Well, they might, but I'm just saying, well, they should. I mean, if they could get JT or somebody like that, that'd probably be the best for them. But without a trade, absent a trade, just looking at in-house, I think that between those two, I think Justice Hill probably has a better upside. In fact, I think I read something where the coach said they were going to try and replace and stay in-house on that one.
I don't know if it's going to pop up. It should be up there now.
Oh, yeah, you got it up. Looks good.
They're different. It's fine. All right. Let's get these waiver wires out of the way. Let's get it. All right. Joshua Kelly. I'm not sure about the injury designation with Austin Eckler, but looks like Kelly might be their running back one if Eckler doesn't play. He could be a solid pickup this week, especially given the situation that Los Angeles Chargers are in right now. They are playing the Tennessee Titans this week, and that might be a nice solid matchup. Maybe get a nice 10 points. Kyren Williams, another ad I like. Seems like he is well liked by the coaching staff there at Los Angeles Rams. Zach Moss is no longer on the injury designation. We just saw Evan Hull get injured, and he's on IR currently, so he's another solid pickup. Moss might actually be the running back one for the rest of the year if Jonathan Taylor ends up getting traded, or who knows what he's going to do with that contract. Deion Jackson does not seem to be getting the entire full workload this week, or maybe in the future. I'm not sure what this new coaching staff is going to be doing with these running backs. Kendrick Bourne looks to be another ad, and looks like he's going to play that Devontae Parker role this year. Nico Collins is one of my favorite pickups this week, and I'm actually high on him for one of my booms. He looked to have a large target share, about majority of the targets coming from CJ Stroud. They're actually playing the Colts this week. Should be a nice week for Nico Collins.
Where do you got Kendrick Bourne?
We'll get to rankings, but Kendrick Bourne, he's just a waiver ad right now. He could be something depending on if Parker comes back, depending on if Juju's healthy. We'll see. He's just a guy you can pick up.
Okay, so he's like pick him up and stash, not necessarily pick him up and start him this week.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
Okay.
The only guys I'd probably start this week, right? One would be Algier, right? If you have to start Algier, you need to start Gus Edwards. If Eckler is injured and he's out, start Kelly. Roschon Johnson could be another one, but Zach Moss, he could probably be another one. All these guys you could potentially start, but only if majority of those guys are injured. Algier looks to be like one you could actually start on a flex spot because he's getting carries and Arthur Smith refuses to throw the ball. All right, now we look at some of the messiness with the tight end position. Here's guys I like that are on waivers right now, and there's going to be 50% or less. Hunter Henry is a nice pickup. Mac Jones and Hunter Henry have had a history of a connection since him coming into the league as a rookie. Looks like he could be in maybe a toss-up play if you need a tight end. Say Andrews doesn't play this week again, and Kelsey doesn't play this week again. Hunter Henry could be a nice pickup. Hayden Hurst, the tight end on Carolina, looks to be maybe Bryce Young's safety net this year. I don't know if DJ Chark is going to come back and Adam Thielen is still dealing with that injury. So maybe Hayden Hurst can be Bryce Young's tight end one. And last but not least, Puka Nacua. Okay. Puka Nacua has been getting hyped up all over the internet right now. We have dudes such as the Fantasy Footballers, Sports Illustrated, and Fantasy Network Now. I've seen dudes trading away Drake London for Puka Nacua. I mean, even this guy, right? We'll look at this video here. That's crazy, man. I feel like if you drop Drake London for Puka Nakua, you should get booted out of your league. You heard it first. You heard it here first. If you do that, you should get booted out of the league. That is a kick out offense right there, in my opinion. You unreal. Don't get me wrong. I love Puka. I've been high on him since going into the NFL and coming out of BYU. I literally drafted him in most of my dynasty leagues, and my tight end premium league I have him, and my home league, and a bunch of other leagues I'm in. I have Puka. All right, and here's why. So if we zoom in here and we look at NCAA wide receivers and zone coverage, Puka Nakua is up there, right? He's up there with Marvin Mims, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Wild, Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, Chris Olave, Jerry Jeudy, etc., etc. So what does this mean? This means that Puka can win in zone coverage. He's successful. He's almost that archetype of Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. He should fit nicely in the Rams offense. But to have him over Drake London is insane. Puka Nakua is playing the 49ers this week, and the Niners destroy on pass, right? They're a great pass defense. Their pass rush is great, and their secondary is great, and their corners are top notch. You can add Puka Nakua, but don't do this. Don't trade him for Drake London. If you have Puka, trade him for Drake London. Trade Puka Nakua right now. Even looking at Matt Harmon, he's the wide receiver guru, right? He says that, yeah, he wins in man coverage, wins in zones. He does big routes. He's, the Robert Woods archetype that they want in their offense. So even if Cooper Kupp comes back, Puka should still see some targets. He should still be solid. But dumping Drake London week 1 for Puka, man, I don't know. Talk about overreaction, right?
Yeah, let's remember it's only one data point, right? It's week 1. He doesn't have, if you're trying to draw a line, you need 2 points. Right now, you only have 1. That's like saying, well, hey, I'm not going to get Joe Burrow. I'm going to go for Zach Wilson just because he had a better game and a better quarterback rating, right? 1 game. It doesn't make sense.
But you can make the argument, though, right? How many points did London have week 1?
0.
How many points did Puka have week 1?
A lot more than...
Yeah, like 20 plus, right? And targets are there, right? Targets are there. I can see the argument for Puka. I can see it. But Kupp is out currently, and I don't know how long Stafford's going to stay healthy, right? And the talent that is Drake London, that dude wins. He wins, and he earns his targets, but the offense is terrible. I will take London, the talent, over Puka. But argument could be there. Anyway, pick him up. All right, let's talk about these run defenses. So right now, this is week 1, right? We don't have tons of data points, but we do know from our own eyes and actually watching the games how well these defenses are ran, their coaches, the scheme, and a lot of them haven't really changed much since last year and even the year before that. So some of these are kind of surprising, some of them aren't, right? So we look at the top run defenses right now. Number 1 that pops out to me is the 49ers. We've known that the 49ers have been an elite defense for like 4 years. Kyle Shanahan is still dominating as a head coach when it comes to defenses. Sure, DeMeco Ryans is gone, but that play call is still great. The Rams are playing the Niners this week. If you have Kyren Williams and you picked him up, are you really going to start him? If you have Cam Akers, are you really going to start him against the Niners? You might have to, but don't expect him to get 12 to 13 points, or even 20 is what Kyron had. He's a top 10 this week. Some other ones, right? Chicago, Chicago is playing Tampa Bay. They had a great run defense this past week. They look solid. Tampa Bay actually looked pretty decent. And if you have Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, or I don't know, whoever else they decide to throw back there, Foreman, I would be cautious in starting them, right? Anybody here against these teams, and if you're looking for running backs, I'd be cautious on. If they can catch passes, fine. Not, I don't know about that. Pass defenses, right? So best teams against the pass. Zach Wilson, man, I feel bad for Garrett Wilson and all of you that have drafted Garrett Wilson. I'm sorry. I was informed by my partner here that Aaron Rodgers told Garrett Wilson.
Sorry, kid.
Yeah. So we got Zach Wilson going against Dallas this week. We just saw what Dallas did to Daniel Jones. So I feel bad. I don't think Garrett Wilson's going to do well this week. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to do well this week. I think the running backs will do well this week. Cleveland, I've been picking up Cleveland everywhere in all my leagues. They look pretty solid this year. I think they're a defense that you can keep on your team and have them every single week. They look to be a solid team. They're playing the Steelers on Monday. I like that matchup for Deshaun Watson in the offense, as well as the defense going against the Steelers. The Steelers are banged up bad right now, and they look slow. Right? George Pickens didn't do much last week. Deontay Johnson's dealing with a hamstring injury. Pat Freiermuth is also injured. Najee Harris doesn't look great, and Jaylen Warren is trying to learn to just be the other guy. Browns pickup this week, I'm telling you, pretty solid. The Rams, let's see how Brock Purdy does this week, right? So Rams defense looked pretty nice. And if Brock can do well against the Rams, good for him. Niners, Stafford, we'll see how Puka does this week against the Niners. If Puka can do well against the Niners and keep the ball rolling, he might be the guy, man. He actually might be the guy. All right, Commanders as well. I messed this up. The Commanders are actually playing Denver.
Yeah, that's one that as we talked about, you got to be careful with one data point, right? Because who were they playing in week one? They were playing the Cardinals.
Yeah, they're playing the Cardinals, but they did look pretty nice. The new additions of the new cornerbacks that they added in the draft, they look pretty good.
Now, I'm not saying they look bad. I'm not saying they're bad, but I'm just saying statistically, they're not playing one of the powerhouse offenses in the NFL. So these numbers might be a little skewed. They do have Chase Young back and some other players that they had through injuries, and like you said, the new cornerbacks, and they did look fairly good. But again, don't be too misled by just one data point on the numbers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Mr. Pessimist out here. But you have to do something. You have to watch the first week. It's important to see what you're doing because not everybody has the Dallas Cowboys. Not everybody has the 49ers, right? Not everybody has the Philadelphia Eagles, right? You had to reach for those to get them. We all want the upside of getting interceptions and touchdowns.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. I'm just saying, H, that the Commanders are one that I like you do. However, of the list, those I'm a little bit more skeptical of just because of the quarterback play as well on the other side of the ball, right? If their offense is not really moving the ball much and they're on the field a lot, of the teams up there, you got the Cowboys, the Browns, the Rams, even with Stafford, even though they're not a powerhouse on the offense, Stafford can still move the ball fairly well. And the Niners, they have a really good offense. Commanders can. Their offense, their skill positions are pretty good. I like Sam Howell, but his first week game was kind of mixed. If he still takes a bunch of time to develop, of those teams, they're probably going to be the weakest link of the five. That's all I'm saying.
Sounds good. I like the counter argument because there's always going to be the, hey, man. Yeah. I love it. All right, now we look at some of the worst ones, right? So if you guys have players that are going against these teams, consider them dominating, right? These are just the matchup plays, right? So they just add more to the player already. So if he's a really good player and he's a really good matchup, chances are he'll probably do a lot better. But could change. So Miami Dolphins, terrible. I butchered this again. So Miami's actually playing, let me see. Messed up. I must be blind. Where's Miami?
New
They're
England.
playing New England.
They got New England on the Sunday night game.
Yeah. So, you know what that means. What does that mean? It means fire up Ramondre Stevenson. That's exactly what it means. Fire up Ramondre Stevenson. Do it. He's already going to start him anyway. Maybe he does better than his projections. We'll take a look at those. Bengals. Man, if Dobbins was back, imagine the matchup. This will be interesting, right? So if your guy Justice Hill or Gus Edwards, whoever you decide to pick out of the backfield, if they do well against the Bengals, that might be nice. That could be a nice play, right? Maybe they both do well. Maybe they just both dominate this week and they can both be starters. Steelers. They're playing Cleveland this week. Nick Chubb, we saw dominate last week. If Nick Chubb plays against the Steelers here and beats the Nick Chubb that he was last week, more and more points. Giants. So I've been hearing a lot of people talk about James Conner, right? I've heard some people say James Conner is going to be a top 10 running back. I've heard he's going to be outside the top 20. I've heard him be nothing, right? Well, here's your chance, James Conner, right? I want to see that 25 points that everybody keeps talking about. Here is your opportunity against the Giants. We just saw Tony Pollard run all over that Giants, right? They look like they didn't even want to play anymore. The social media website didn't even respond after, right? They went into hiding after that butt whooping on football, Sunday Night Football. We will see how James Conner does against the Giants. And Carolina, man. Carolina is a terrible team. If you are playing Bijan Robinson this week, I'm sorry. If you have Bijan Robinson this week,
congrats.
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 We saw Bijan just break that guy's ankles, man. He just did that step. Destroyed him. All right, let's look at some of the odds, right? So y'all hear me just talk crap about like defenses, right? And I'm being the know-it-all about defenses. Now, the truth is that these are just rankings that somebody did off of NFL.com. And I put them in the website in the link in the description. So it's down there if you want to look at it. Again, yeah, we don't have all the data, but what we do is we have Vegas, right? Vegas knows more than us. Vegas is smarter than us. The house always wins. So they got Philly winning, Cincinnati winning, Detroit, Indy, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Green Bay, Buffalo, Chargers, Niners, Giants, Dallas, Denver, Miami, New Orleans, and Cleveland. So again, we look at this from last week too. We go, all right, so who's going to be leading from behind? Who's going to be leading? Who's going to be playing from behind? And the close games usually are going to be running backs, right? That's what the Vegas odds always tell us. Now that we just found out that Philadelphia's secondary just got injured, right? Maybe Minnesota has a better chance now. Maybe Kirk Cousins this week will be the Kirk Cousins I wanted him to be last week. Maybe he has the opportunity to get, 20 plus this week because they'll be playing from behind now. And that secondary is injured. They just lost their linebackers. Their cornerback is injured. See what happens. Tune in tomorrow. Don't be surprised if Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and maybe even Addison have themselves a game.
Yeah, the thing to watch on that H will be the interior line play on both sides. How well is Minnesota going to be able to block in the middle with their injury to their center, and then also, if he plays, I don't think he is, but if he does, how will they hold up against the interior of the defensive line for the Eagles, which we know their defense historically has been pretty good, certainly up front.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be interesting to see. I know that they're just getting decimated with injuries early on too. That'll be something to watch too. That'll be a fun game tomorrow.
Yeah, it should be a great game for a Thursday night game. That's going to be a real nice one. It's 2 in a row.
Yeah. Any of these odds here stick out to you? Maybe they shouldn't be this high. Maybe maybe you go, oh, I don't know about that. Whoops. Any ones that stand out to you by chance?
Yeah, if you go back to the Kansas City Jacksonville one, it's going to be in Jacksonville. They have KC by 3. I think I think it depends on who shows up for the wide receivers, right, for Kansas City, and if Kelsey plays. I mean, if Kelsey plays, that might happen. But man, if he doesn't play, looking at that game Thursday night, I started Sky Moore. I got that between I didn't have a very good week last week. That was just I don't know. That's not going to be good.
Pain. We'll see what happens with that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think that spread it should be even flipped. Right? Maybe now if Kelsey's out, it might be Jacksonville by like 3.
Yeah, I'd keep an eye on that one for sure. And then the Green Bay one as well. Green Bay and Atlanta. I mean, yes. Bijan is special. He's a special running back. Watching him play, I was like, holy smokes. I haven't seen a guy come out like that in a while.
Wait, I think I messed up on I think Atlanta's supposed to be playing Carolina. Did I mess it up?
I think so. Let me check. I don't remember that one.
Potentially messed up. Yeah, I messed up on the days and stuff. Fact check me on that one. I don't remember.
Okay, I'll check it out.
I just copied and pasted this from Vegas.com, so I don't know. Maybe I messed up.
Yeah, Atlanta's playing Green Bay.
Okay, so I did mess up on the opponent's thing for the defenses. That's fine, whatever. As long as you got the Vegas odds, we're good. So apologies for that. I messed up on the opponents on the defenses, but these are the correct matchups here on the Vegas odds for the week. Okay, so yeah, I guess if Atlanta is playing Green Bay this week, that might be actually a little bit tougher for Bijan this week. So I take back what I said earlier about them playing Carolina. I thought they were. Okay, yeah, we saw last week that Roschon still did very well in the passing game, so Bijan should be fine this week, but Green Bay is also a nice defense. Buffalo, I think this one is pretty surprising. By 9.5 after we saw what Josh Allen just did on Monday Night Football.
I think they're counting on a bounce back game.
Yeah, huge bounce back game. And maybe Vegas says that Las Vegas is going to get injured. Like maybe Kobe Myers doesn't play. I know Jimmy G's dealing with an injury now too. I'm not sure what they're going to do with that.
And then Jacoby Myers was in the concussion protocol. Looks like he practiced limited, but still, they're not 100%.
Yeah.
Las Vegas, yeah, they're not 100% on that one. So it'll be a tough game for sure.
It might be bad for Jacobs too. So we'll see what happens. But Jacobs is Jacobs, and he just balls. All right, let's move on to start sit here. That way I can start explaining things a lot better. It's a lot easier to explain now. Boom. All right, now we got my rankings here for week 2. Again, we got our matchups on the right. We have our names, rank here, and points per game. So I have this filtered for just rankings. So some guys that stand out to me for the week are going to be Tua. We'll see how he does against New England. And I actually like Justin Fields a lot this week. So Fields is playing Tampa Bay. And I was talking about earlier, Tampa Bay is not a very good passing defense. They're one of the worst based on last week. They also look pretty rough. And then we also know on top of that, Tampa Bay wants to eventually move off of their receivers, and they pretty much look like they want to tank to me. I think Justin Fields has a bounce back week this week, and he actually looks better. So we sat down last week, and we actually, or I guess a couple days ago, we watched the QB schools video and breakdown on Justin Fields against Green Bay. I think Fields doesn't look as good as a passer this year. He looks like he's struggling, but he uses his legs. And man, does he use his legs.
He can run.
And for fantasy, we love quarterbacks that run. I wish and I hope Fields turns it around and becomes a better passer for his career. But it looks like he's going to be doing his running still. He's a nice pickup. He should have a nice bounce back week. Some other surprises. I had to move up some guys in my rankings. I moved up Jordan Love for the week. I also moved up Richardson for the week. I moved up Herbert as well. He's now number 2 for me. I think Burrow has a bounce back game. I moved up Tua quite a bit. And Kirk Cousins might have a good week. And running backs, McCaffrey's RB1 for me this week. Eckler potentially might not play. Nick Chubb is a solid play this week as well. They're playing Pittsburgh.
And he should be a good play based on the defensive stats that you showed in terms of the worst run defenses. Cleveland likes to run. Chubb likes to run. That should be a good matchup potentially.
100%. Another one I think is going to be good. I really like ETN this week as well because I think Kansas City is going to, they're going to pass it out. They're going to score with or without Travis Kelce. And Trevor Lawrence will need to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. So ETN should see some nice receiving work this week. Same basically goes for Stevenson. I had to move up my guy, Breece Hall. I sat Breece Hall. I didn't even rank him in the top 25. I think I had him at 30 last week. And man, he looked good on Monday. He looked good against that Buffalo Bills team. Yeah, he's coming back from the injury, but man, he looked great.
He's still fast and explosive. He's not as fast and explosive as he was last year before the injury. However, I don't think he's 100% just yet. But man, did he fly! And I got an interesting thing here for you, H. The speed. I just want to share this with you. I got it from Next Gen Stats. The fastest ball carriers. Number 1, Tyreek Hill running at 21.66 miles per hour. He's also number 2, running at 21.52 miles per hour. I wanted to point out Derrick Henry, number 6, 20.56 miles, 20.5 miles per hour in the game. That's what they clocked him at. Derrick Henry, one of the oldest running backs, if not the oldest running back on that list. How the guy keeps doing it at that age just shocks me. Eckler was in there too.
Wow. On
the fastest, but just a gee whiz. Derrick Henry at 20.5. Breece Hall was at 20.5. The only thing that separated them was 200ths of a second, and Henry was just 200ths of a second faster than Breece Hall. That's probably the injury talking. But
yeah,
that to me, that just goes to show that Derrick Henry, wow, he's still got some juice in the tank.
Might be his last year.
It may be, but man, he's still running fast.
Yeah, and
that was a shocker.
That is shocking, especially at his age. Him having that foot injury and that surgery, that lead plate, right, and then taking out everything. So Henry's actually one of my favorite picks this week. He's playing against that bad Los Angeles Chargers rushing defense, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 3 TDs or something this week. I could see it happen.
So you don't see a big bounce back game from Tannehill?
I mean, yeah, I guess bounce back because it's pretty hard being last or second to last.
Let me just say for the cameras here, I'm not bagging anybody who plays because they're all fantastic athletes. Just in one of my matchups, I had Burrow as my starting quarterback, which, Burrow's one of the top 3 quarterbacks. He got like 3 points, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose the game. Fortunately, I was playing against the guy who had Tannehill. So that one was a wash. So I was like, I lucked out on that one. So if there's ever going to be a bad game and a bad matchup, that was the time to have it. So I'm sorry, I just say that tongue in cheek. Do you think Tannehill's going to have a bounce back game? Yeah, he's never been. None of the quarterbacks have usually played that poorly.
Yeah,
in their
lot
defense.
of them too.
A lot of them, the top ones too, were playing horribly. It's surprising that they didn't score even in average, not even sniffing an average of where they normally are. These were aberrations, and hopefully they're aberrations and outliers, right? Because, man, is that going to mess up the fantasy landscape if they don't bounce back?
Yeah, real bad. And then even some of the running backs, right? Like just guys you wouldn't expect to do well. They just did well. Roshan Johnson did well. Cam Akers or Kyron Williams didn't do he did really well. Like just guys you're just like, what? How are they doing that? Another guy like this week now is DeAndre Swift. You know what? I'm in on DeAndre Swift. The dude had 1 point this past week, something like that. 1 reception, 1 carry. Kenneth Gainwell's out, and that offense looks slow. Eagles need to use DeAndre Swift and Dallas Goedert if they want to blow out teams and win games the whole year. They have to use them. They paid Swift tons of money. They have to use him. This week, they're going to use him. Nick Sirianni said he's inexcusable that we did that. We got to make sure he gets the ball. He should be a nice flex this week. You can maybe even do him in the starting lineup on, this week. Put him on Thursday, right? He's a Thursday night guy. So put him in your starting running back slot, not your flex spot. Running back slot. Connor might be good against the Giants. And that's kind of it. I mean, call me out on any of these if you guys don't like them. Thoughts, Max? What do you think about the running backs? Who's some running backs here that you might go? I don't know about that. Who's some guys you really like? Maybe right now, the rest of the season.
I like Gibbs. Gibbs showed how explosive he really is on a fairly good offense. And we were joking earlier before the season started about who the heck was Goff going to throw to. Apparently, he did pretty good. It's more than just Brown. So he did pretty good. Some of those guys stepped up. When they get JMO back, it might be even better.
Yeah, he's a field stretcher. It might be even better for Gibbs long term too, if rest of the season.
And I have Montgomery on one of my teams. I like his play. He plays good, but Gibbs comes in and just tears it up. By the goal line, Montgomery's a pretty good pick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention this. A.J. Dillon will be a solid play this week, too, if Aaron Jones doesn't play with that hamstring, right? We've seen Dillon before get that RB1 role, and he's a solid pass catcher as well. Good in pass protection. He's a good runner. He's big. He gets goal line work. He should see RB1 type numbers if Aaron Jones doesn't play. So
the guy I saw move up, too, is Kenneth Walker, right? I have Charbonnet as well. And in one of my leagues, and Walker got over 2/3 of the carries, even got the passes, which is a shocker, right? He actually got the passes. So Walker's definitively the alpha there in Seattle, and looks like they're going to have to lean on him in order to get Geno back into his groove.
Yeah, I like him too this week. He has a nice matchup against the Detroit Lions. He should see maybe a couple of long rushes. I think he'll get some touchdown work in there. I think he'll have a better week this week. He'll look good. All right, receivers, the standard, top guys as always. Maybe even move Amon-Ra St. Brown up. I moved up Ridley up quite a bit. I might be down on Adams this week, depending on if Jimmy G plays or not. But if Myers doesn't play, that'd be fine for him. That'd be a good play. I moved Garrett Wilson down so much. Anybody that has him, oof. I could be wrong. Maybe Zach Wilson bounces back and he becomes the guy that they want him to be. And Garrett Wilson gets his points. He's projected to get 16 or 14, 16. I think he maybe gets like 12. I think that Dallas defense is going to clamp him up. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 on that team. Diggs is not going to let him get away with much. Some other guys I moved up. I moved Zay Flowers. Put Puka Nacua up in here now. Just for week 2, right? Addison might have a good week this week. I moved up Jacoby Myers. George Pickens could be something interesting, especially if Deontay Johnson doesn't play. Don't be surprised if JSN, Jack Smith, and Jigba has a good week this week. I think it's going to be JSN and DK Metcalf's show. Metcalf's going to be the guy out wide and being the field stretcher while JSN works underneath. All right, let's talk about everybody's favorite position in fantasy football. Tight ends. Gross. Okay, so if you didn't get Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, it's a toss-up. Even both of them are toss-ups because they're both injured.
Yeah, so even if you had him, you couldn't start him. So you had to put him on the bench and then put in your backup tight end, which 50-50.
Yeah, so if you drafted Andrews like I did in every single league, you probably lost your first week. I lost a lot of my weeks because I had Andrews and I was trying to just grab some tight end, start him. But you're expecting 14 or 15 points from Andrews a week, and if you don't get that, it sucks. And if you have Kelce, right, you're expecting 18 to 20. You don't get that, your team pretty much just sucks.
And you could theoretically, like I did, is I sub in Dallas Goedert, thinking I should be okay. A little bit of a drop off. He comes up with the goose egg. One attempt. I was so mad. One attempt. I couldn't believe that. I look back at his stats just as we're talking about him. Goddard hasn't scored. He hasn't been skunked in the game fantasy wise going back through 2020. I quit looking. I was getting so upset.
Wow.
He's usually good. Last year he averaged at least 12 points a game fantasy, and this tight end premium on Sleeper. But no way did I expect 0 points. I thought he was going to do well against the Patriots. I thought Belichick was going to shut down the wideouts, but that was a horrible game.
Yeah, I don't even know who's going to be good. So guys that I'd probably move up into starting contention now, I would put Laporta in there. And I'm considering putting Hayden Hurst now in start territory. I can't do it yet. Sam Laporta is definitely a guy that you could. I don't even think he's on waivers. He might be. Majority of the leagues I've seen, he's not. So you can actually start Laporta week in, week out now and just set it and forget it. But these are all toss-ups, man. As long as you're not starting Gesicki.
Yeah, I guess I didn't want to mock because that's all I had left. I had Kelce and Andrews and Gesicki. I was like, oh, geez. One guy I do like, I wouldn't say I like, but to keep an eye on, certainly one's going to be Ferguson. I know Ferguson had the highest targets on the Cowboys. You saw the rain in that game. Hendershot's one of the guys I like too, but he had that touchdown pass he dropped, hit him in the hands right there on the goal line. Wasn't able to bring it down. But Ferguson, he doesn't quite have the hands as Hendershot, I don't think, just watching him. But he's a starter, but he got most of the targets. Different game, different situation. He might be able to catch a couple of those in like he did last year. The other one is Gerald Everett from the Chargers. He's a guy that's not a flashy guy. He's the lunch pail guy, as they always say, right?
Oh my, yeah,
he is.
He's a lunch pail guy. You can trust him. He gets in there, gets his work in.
But with Herbert throwing, Herbert could throw. That makes him a viable candidate if you're hurting. I'm not saying that you should move him up into the top 10 because they're not top 10 tight ends, but they're all a toss-up, as you see. I agree with that because you don't know what you're going to get. It's either feast or famine. And those guys, if he's getting 8 targets, he could catch him, and then he's not a toss-up. He's a start.
Yeah.
Or he can get 8 thrown and miss them like T. Higgins did.
Or Sky Moore. Or Darius Tony, Buster Butterfingers.
Yeah, I had Drake London, T. Higgins, all the Sky Moore, all of my starters. That was my lineup. And one of the guys like, are you kidding me with Burrow as a quarterback?
It's gonna be weird. A guy. Here's somebody else, right? So in my Scott Fishbowl league, I picked up Adam Trotman. So if we looked at snap shares, Trotman's been leading the Broncos, and Dulcich is now out. He has that hamstring injury. I don't know. You know how hammies are. It takes forever. That wide receiver core just keeps getting destroyed with injuries. I don't know if Judy's going to be back this week. Mims better play because Sean Payton needs to figure out this offense, man, and fast. He likes Trotman, and Russ has to use his tight ends, man. He has to use his tight ends and his slot receivers. He has to use Mims. He has to use Trotman to do well. I don't even care if little Jordan Humphreys plays. I don't care. They need to get Marvin Mims out there, and Russ needs to use Trotman. He better figure that out.
So, what do you think of Dalton Kincaid? I mean, he was like first round draft pick, wasn't he? I mean, he was like one of the first picks they picked off the board for tight end. He's supposed to be the greatest. I saw him play. He looked average to me.
I completely agree with you.
At best.
I've been told by so many people that Dalton Kincaid is Dalton Himcade. He's Kelsey 2.0. He's the greatest tight end prospect since Kyle Pitts and Rob Gronkowski. He's a can't miss prospect. He's a can't miss tight end. Look, I watched him 2 days ago, Monday. I watched him on Monday. I guess I was yesterday. Watched him yesterday, and he looks slow. Dawson Knox looked more explosive, and Kincaid just in the slot, man. He's nothing special. If they drafted a tight end to be a weapon, I know they want Kincaid to be Kyle Pitts. He's not Kyle Pitts. We don't even know if he's actually athletic. We have no idea. Maybe the Bills do. Maybe they have information on him. But we never saw him test out. We never saw anything from him. He never did a pro day or nothing.
Wait a minute. You're saying they drafted Kincaid to be a blocking tight end like Pitts in Atlanta?
No. They want him to be
kidding.
They want him to be Kyle Pitts, the receiver, of him just going up and getting it. They want him to be Kelsey, but he's not Kelsey. Kelsey is not a poor athlete. He was actually a good athlete. He's still a good athlete. Man, Kincaid is a jag, bro. He's a jag. He's just, I don't care. Sam Laporta over Dalton Kincaid rest of the season. I don't care. I like Sam Laporta. Dalton Kincaid splitting reps with Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox actually looked good, in my opinion, yesterday compared to Kincaid. Good question, because, yeah, I've seen everybody say Kincaid's going to be a top five tight end. Maybe he does. Maybe he goes off for 30 a week because maybe Diggs just leaves or something crazy. Maybe, sure. Till then, no. Till then, Kincaid's down here. All right, let's get to our boom and bust picks for the week, and then we'll be done.
All right, let's go.
All right, boom and bust picks, ESPN projections. So my boom picks are Fields, Goff, Jones, Richardson, and Love. So Fields, I said he's going to look good against Tampa Bay, in my opinion. I think he's going to bounce back week. 20 points should be easy and attainable given his rushing upside now. And we'll see what happens, man. He should be able to pass the ball. If not, it's okay if he runs it. I think he can easily get 20 points this week. Have a bounce back week. Goff, he's playing Seattle. Seattle looked really bad last week against the Rams. I think Goff has a better week this week than he did against Kansas City. He's actually on pace for being one of the best, completion quarterbacks since, Prescott was doing that thing when he was a rookie. He's gone so long without a interception that it's been good. And I probably just jinxed him just by saying that. But, Goff. Daniel Jones, he should have a bounce back week. I hope that his line decides to wake up and show up. I don't know. He's going to be running the ball. He runs the ball, saves his life. He's been solved for me week 1 in Scott Fishbowl because he uses his legs. So maybe he does it again. I think I'm seeing a trend here with my quarterback for this week. Richardson as well. All right. he should have a nice solid game this week against Houston.
He actually surprised and played fairly well for his first game out. I was surprised he did as well as he did.
I mean, from a fantasy perspective, yeah, he looked great, but real life, he still struggled. He threw a crucial pick, had questionable. Again, he's a rookie. He's a rookie, right? You gotta give the kid time. Give the kid time. But real life quarterback, he's got work to do.
Oh yeah, he's got work to do. I'm just saying that a guy coming in, he didn't even play very much in college, other than the one season.
Yeah,
certainly he's got the physical attributes, and he can read. But some of the questions were mechanics, accuracy, all those issues, and you're thinking in a real time game in the NFL, how's he going to do? I just expected him to do worse. I was kind of negative on his transition, saying, "Hey, it's going to take him at least 3 years." Surprised that they started him right out the gate. But that being said, he did better than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
So kudos to him.
I hope they just develop him properly. Like, dynasty issue aside, I hope they develop him properly and they don't destroy him like they're doing at Fields at Chicago.
Yeah, and going up against Houston, it's a good matchup for him.
That'd be a fun one to watch, the two rookies going at it this year.
Yeah, I like that one.
All right, and Jordan Love playing against Atlanta. Love actually looked pretty solid this past week. I think he'll be better. He actually already beat his projections last week, right? So maybe he does another, 18, 19 points a game.
Especially if Watson comes back.
Oh, yes. Christian Watson, he's come back. I'm also, assuming Watson plays. Even if he doesn't, he still looks good. Russell Wilson, man, he just keeps losing weapons. He's just going to get hurt here and just keep getting owned. I need him to do well, though, man. I need him to do well just to do well for Mims. Ritter, I don't even think he's going to get 12 points this week, man. Zach Wilson, don't even think he's going to get 13. These are the guys that are going to be Joe Burrow and Ryan Tannehill for the week. All right, some boom picks. I need to fix this because Bijan is playing Green Bay. I'm still picking Bijan. Gets that pass catching work. And Pacheco. Let me see. Kansas City is playing Jacksonville. I messed up on these. ETN is playing Kansas City. I can't believe I messed up on all these like that. Okay. Isaiah Pacheco, he should be very solid this week against Jacksonville. He saw a lot of targets last week with the absence of Travis Kelce. I mean, we're going to trust Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney again? Nah, man, you got to run that ball and dump it off. You got to figure something out. ETN should be a solid play this week against Kansas City and Trevor Lawrence passing to his running backs. I'm all in on Breece Hall, man. I don't even care anymore. I'm all in on the feed the Breeze. I'm in. And my pick of the week, the guy that you should be scared about playing, is Derrick Henry. I can see Henry getting 30, 40 points this week. I can see him just get, three TDs. I just have that feeling, just that feeling when you're like, oh, King Henry's not good. He just does his thing all of a sudden. Just like, wow, how did he do that?
I told you, still fast. Still got that step, little pep in the step going. Surprised me. I traded him in one of my leagues. I said, my dynasty league, I was like, okay, he's older. I traded him for McCaffrey and Gibson.
I mean, CMC is CMC though. So
he was injured at the time, but I was fortunate, and I just traded him because I figure he's getting older. He's at the top end of the spectrum for running back. So to see his name on the stats running faster than Breece Hall by 200ths of a second, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That's why he's King Henry.
And he's big too.
He's huge.
So guy I like this week, guys I don't like this week. Najee Harris. He's playing San Francisco. Rough. Aaron Jones. I actually like Aaron Jones, but I don't see him getting 15 this week. Same thing with James Cook. I like James Cook, but I don't see him getting 15 plus this week. That's kind of crazy. And I made this beforehand, but Gainwell, he was projected to get 13 points, man. I mean, obviously he's injured out, he's now, so it's a wash. I'll delete that. Rashad White, man, I don't know what ESPN's doing, bro. 15 points. 15 points from a running back. That's a lot. And Rashad White is not a great running back. I'm sorry, he's not. 15 is asking a lot. That's borderline top 15. I don't see that happening.
It's up there with Travis Etienne and Bijan.
Yeah, that's insane. There's no way. And wide receivers, Calvin Ridley's my guy this week. And another. So I think T. Higgins has a bounce back week again. It's going to be a divisional matchup against Baltimore. Keenan Allen might surprise you this week, I think, because I believe King Henry's going to be King Henry this week, and the Titans are actually going to be solid. I think Herbert will have to play from maybe behind or have to throw it out, air it out, and I think Allen will be his guy. DJ Moore, I'm picking Fields this week. I'm also going to pick DJ Moore. Last week he was like 15 points. I think 12 to 13 is more where he should be. Nice pick for me. I have him in my leagues. I'm going to use him as my flex. Nico Collins, a guy that I was saying to get off waivers. He led the team in targets. I think he had like 12 points. They're playing Indy this week, and it should be a fun matchup. I think he sees a good amount of targets, maybe gets 12 points, maybe like 5 targets, 6 targets, and a touchdown. Should be good for him.
I like that pick. Nico Collins did very well. He was on the upswing last year, didn't have quite the numbers, but his progress was pretty good. Looking forward to seeing what he can do this year.
Yeah, his quarterback play was bad last year. It's better this year, and maybe Nico and Stroud can be the connection that we all want, right? Maybe we finally get a wide receiver one out of Houston. All right, some busts this week. I love Metcalf, but 15.4 is a lot. I think he's going to be used as a field stretcher this week, and you can see the emergence of JSN. He should be healthy now after that injury. He should look better. Marquise Brown, 12.1. That's a lot from a tanking team. I mean, Dobbs was horrible. If the Cardinals are serious about winning and they actually want to try to win football games, they need to start Clayton Tune. They need to. I don't care if Dobbs is the starter right now. You got to start Tune. Tutu Atwell, 10.5 against San Francisco. What? No. I like Tutu, but that's crazy, man. 10. You're basically saying he's slightly better than a flex option. He could be he's basically rostered now. I can't do that. And Sky Moore, back in on Sky Moore ESPN.
So yeah, Sky Moore's going to pick up the slack from Kadarius Toney.
Oh my gosh.
Because he's not going to throw to Kadarius Toney very much.
Yeah, he ran like the most routes out of any of the receivers, and he still put he had like what 0.4.
Yep, I started him instead of Nico Collins. I almost put in Collins, but I said certainly with Kelsey out, Sky Moore's going to get more targets, and he's going to do better. This is going to be the year. This is going to be where he gets to break out and prove himself after the Super Bowl performance, and he brought me a goose egg. Yeah,
that's okay. I mean, hindsight, yeah, probably was bad, but at the time we also said, not to start him over some of the guys like the running backs that we knew would start, right?
Yeah.
So we're starting guys like Montgomery over Sky Moore, even they're playing together, right? That same day.
I just had injuries and that was on a deep league, but yeah, that was kind of funny. I stuck him in there. I mean, look, I'm choosing between Nico Collins and Sky Moore. That was really a different league, but I put him in there and I ended up paying for that one too.
Yeah. If you're still starting Sky Moore, man, I don't know what you're doing. Sorry. Right. If you guys are still starting him, please don't. Just don't do it. Even if Kelsey doesn't play, don't double down. Don't try it because you're gonna be glued to your TV and you're gonna be crying the entire time if you have a drop. Just pick somebody else. Somebody else.
So let me ask you this. It's just 2 questions. On the boom side, you don't have AJ Brown anywhere. What do you think of AJ Brown with the Eagles? You think they're gonna have a bounce back game after their flat start against New England? A little bit of weather, but obviously Mac Jones didn't have too much of a problem.
I like AJ Brown, but the issue is, I said this on week 1 too, right? Is the game script has changed and there's too many mouths to feed. So again, their bread and butter is always running the ball. And Sirianni said, that's all we're going to do. We're going to run the damn ball from here on out. We're going to go get DeAndre Swift and we're going to pay him $8 million. And we're going to go get Rashad Penny and we're going to run the ball. And Devontae Smith is a solid wide receiver, right? He wins at every level now. AJ Brown, same thing. You have to give credit to Dallas Goedert. He's a great tight end. Now, I mean, I think AJ Brown gets 14, 15. I think he meets his projection this week. I don't think he's going to exceed it just because Devontae Smith is there and all the other targets, right?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was going to wait till the next slide there with Goddard, but since you brought it up, he did say, hey, we're going to run the ball more. He said, yes, we need to get Swift in there. He also said the same thing with Goddard. Obviously, we got to get Goddard. If we don't get Goddard at the ball, we're not going to win. That's what he said. It's like, well, geez, and you should have thrown him the ball last week rather than one target for 0 points. They should have brought him in. And the fact that they didn't even bring Swift in after trading for him, that was a surprise too. So Eagles kind of head scratcher after week 1.
Yeah. So some parallels I like to draw, right? So why are Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle so successful in their offenses? Why can Tua support 2, top 10 wide receivers, and why can't the Eagles?
Miami doesn't have a running game.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So yeah, last year AJ Brown and Devontae Smith looked good, but did the Eagles have a nice, solid running game last year?
Yes, with Miles Sanders.
No, they're terrible.
They had they were one of the leading rushers with the committee.
They're bad though. They're bad.
Had the most fourth down conversions.
They were good, but they weren't where they wanted to be, right? They knew they had to fix it. So they wanted to go get Swift. They knew that if they want to win the whole thing, they need to go get players that actually are playmakers and can make a difference on a team. You're not fooling anybody with Sanders. You're not fooling anybody with Kenneth Walker or Kenneth Gainwell. You're not. I love Gainwell, but you went to go buy Swift, so you have to use him. And the dude is a great running back. That's why I'm not picking AJ Brown as a boom pick or bust. I just think he's going to meet the ESPN projections.
Now, last year Sanders had 1,269 yards rushing, 4.9 yards per carry, 11 touchdowns.
Was that him or the offensive line?
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're right.
He didn't do too bad. But you're right. They were still committee, but he was the big linchpin for that. They actually ran the ball fairly well.
Yes. All right, moving on. Let's finish it up and do our tight ends. Kelsey, Andrew, did they play? So ESPN has Sam Laporta with 10.2. I think he actually exceeds that. Maybe gets 11 or 12. Probably will get a touchdown this week. Ingram. He's, Trevor Lawrence's tight end. He's been using him since. I think he gets, 10 or 12 points again. Maybe more. I don't know why we keep doing this with Dalton Schultz. I know why we do, and I know why ESPN does, but we need to stop. So, Dalton Schultz with 9.1. He had like 2 points last week. Look, Dalton Schultz was only good because he had a star on his head. That's why people liked him. He's never been a good tight end. I will say the same thing about Ferguson. He is not a good tight end. Do not get fooled. Game script on the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott say, tight end get ball. Tight end get target. Tight end catch ball. That's it.
He led targets, Ferguson.
I could be out there and run tight end and just stand out there and just not draw anybody and then get a target and get a touchdown. That's what Dalton Schultz did last year. That's what he did the year before. That's what Ferguson is doing. That's not happening in Houston. Schultz actually has to win on his routes now. He has to win. He has to block and release. He has to actually play tight end now. He has to play tight end right now, and he's not doing a good job.
So you're saying he's got to use his breakaway speed?
Yeah, sure.
Which is why you got him in the bus
That's why he's
column.
so fast. And then also like Stroud, right? He's a rookie quarterback, and historically speaking, rookie quarterbacks don't produce, top 10 tight ends. We got to stop putting Schultz that high. I mean, look, like Schultz is within 0.1 of top 10, like top 10 tight ends. He's ranked like 12 right now. Njoku, 9 point. The tight ends are just bad. Like these are reaches. Like 9s now. No, dude. This is gonna be like 8.
What
8
about
points.
Pitts? Pitts is open every time.
He is open every time, but Ritter sucks. Did you see that video of Kyle Pitts just dominating and just beating everybody and leaving the dude in the dirt, winning every single route, and he's screaming at Ritter with his hands raised up, and Ritter just looks at him, just doesn't do anything. I'll have to show you the video afterwards, but man, it's bad.
No, I seen it. That's why I'm laughing, because that's what I was saying last week. So I did make the call on Pitts not making it.
Yeah,
But I didn't make the call with Goddard.
it's disappointing.
It still makes me mad. Eagles.
It's all good. We gotta get it this week, right?
Let's see how he does. I think he's going to bounce back.
All right. Any guys that you stick out that you want to put your flag down for the week or saying like, oh, this is gonna be the guy for me?
It's hard if
Obviously relative to the ESPN projection.
a lot of it depends on whether or not Kelsey or Andrew starts and whether or not they're healthy. Right, Kelsey, I told you I had concerns with the bone bruise. Even if he does play against Jacksonville, I'm not so sure how well he will be able to cut and how explosive he will be compared to what he typically is. May impact him. 16.8 seems like a lot, but it is Mahomes in Kansas City. Certainly within the norm, and it's actually a little bit less than what he normally gets. Andrews, he's just a machine. That's pretty good. I like that call. Laporta, I think, is a surprise for a lot of folks. He's really good. We knew he was good coming out as a tight end. I think he was certainly in our top 5. We liked him. Got a good spot there in Detroit. So I like those. And Ingram, Lawrence didn't look as good as I was hoping in the first game. I hope he, quote, bounces back even more. I have high hopes for him. So we'll see if Evan Ingram's a part of that. But Ridley, again, that may be a case where they're going to have too many mouths to feed.
I think he's gonna be cheesy and just get a touchdown. Like he's just gonna just run this easy flat.
I hope he gets 2.
Touchdown. All right, some trade advice sent in by us. This is a dynasty question. Okay, so Kyle Pitts, Jameson Williams, and a third for Jalen Waddle. Oh yeah, this is a 10-team super flex full PPR, not tight end premium. All right, so if we're right, so I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, it depends.
Dynasty?
Yes, dynasty question.
I'm inclined to take Waddle.
I probably would take Waddle as well, and I say that why JMO is a basket case, dude. We don't know anything about that. He's probably like he's the Rashad Bateman now, like where he was. I didn't think he was an elite prospect. I didn't really like him that much. I had questions about him coming out of Alabama and him being the 3rd, 4th string guy on Ohio State. But, you missed your entire rookie year. You gambled the first 6 games of your second year, and you're hoping that you can return value on that. Kyle Pitts is in tight end hell. Yeah, tight end. Kyle Pitts is an elite tight end and a generational talent, but his team sucks. His quarterback sucks. His coach sucks. His scheme sucks. Literally they don't use him right. What we need is Jerry Jones to be calling up Atlanta right now and getting Kyle Pitts. But Jalen Waddle, man, he's gonna get you points. He's 24 years old. He's young. He's great. I mean, yards per route run, elite, efficient. He's got Tua. I think Tua's going to get re-signed, assuming he stays healthy. Even if he doesn't, Waddle, the talent is great. I mean, you could even take JMO and a third and, get somebody else. If you get Kyle Pitts, JMO and them, yeah, I mean, you're really not going to be able to get Waddle. I think if you have Waddle too, you can go buy low on a tight end like Sam Laporta. Still, I think he's going to be a top 10 tight end for foreseeable future now. I'll pick Waddle side here, but it makes me sad. But reality is Kyle Pitts is in tight end hell. If you do have elite wide receivers though, and you just don't want to ever think about your tight end position ever again, I mean, Kelsey has to retire at some point. Andrews has to eventually retire too. He's also older. Kyle Pitts is one of the youngest tight ends out of this group. Even the new guys that came in, he's still fairly young.
The other consideration might be depth. If you have good receivers, having Pitts, Williams, and then a third-round pick might give you a little depth in a dynasty league, depending on how long you're looking at what the other teams are. There's just some variables in that regard, but I'm like UH. Typically, I'd go with Waddle, certainly in a PPR league.
Yeah. All right, and the next one is Mark Andrews, Tyler Algier, George Pickens, the 2025 first, or Josh Jacobs, Brandon Ayuk, and Pat Freiermuth. All right, so let's break this down. So Andrews and
same kind of league.
Yeah, same kind of league. So Andrews and Pickens are probably a wash for me when it comes to Jacobs and Freiermuth. And then you get a pick on top of that. So I guess it depends, right? If you're trying to win this year, you go with the Jacobs, Ayuk, and Freiermuth side. If you're trying to tank and you're rebuilding, yeah, I would go with Andrews in the first.
Agreed. I'd do the same.
All right, and that concludes our podcast for week 2. Again, feel free to ask comments, send comments in the chat. Like the video and share the video if you can. Greatly appreciate it. Subscribe. We'll be doing weekly videos as we go through the year, and we'll be doing Sunday start sits as well, live stream on week 3 and going forward. We've been pretty busy. I'm going to do a call in for week 3. I'm going to have another guest call me on the phone, and he's just a regular fantasy guy, fantasy lover, and he's just going to be on the show talking football for Sunday morning while we do start sit questions. Okay, and that being said, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate you watching. Again, send us any questions in the chat. Tell us who your guys are for the week on any of the skills positions. Let us know. And until next time, Dynasty Buffs out.